If you are not happy in your current role, are there some major changes that you can make to make it wonderful again?
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
I don't think I've told you on this microphone about my new venture. I might have alluded to it a little bit, but I want to share with you just an overview, a 5,000-foot view of a new adventure that I have gone on over the last 7 months with my son. But because this podcast is not about me, it's about you, I want to teach a lesson in finding work that is satisfying. I want to pause here and remind you of a couple of great companies, alamode.com or 800 Alamode. Of course, E&O through OREP. OREP is my E&O of choice. I've used all of them out there, all the major ones. E&O through OREP is the only way to go. OREP.org is where you find out more, OREP.org. All right, folks, again, I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details. I share a lot of this with my all-star team and my dream team members because I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. But do want to give you a 5,000-foot view and teach a little lesson about where you are as an appraiser and maybe where you might want to be. Maybe give a little bit of a push, not necessarily out the door, though there might be a little bit of that as well, a little push to each of us to get in a spot that we love. All right. About not quite a year ago, September of 2023, I had a vacant piece of ground up near Glacier National Park and didn't know what to do with it. I had considered a lot of different things, RV park, mini storage, employee housing, some other crazy ideas as well. And at the same time, my son, my 19-year-old son, who has been involved heavily in farming, if you will, livestock, basically was looking for a job. And so I had these two things coming together at the same time. He looking for a job, me looking for something to do with this land, and a dream was born, if you will. An idea was born. It was hatched in September. And the idea was, we have a farm that's very close to Glacier National Park. There's a lot of people that drive past there. Many are from the big city. They don't have experience with farming. Why not merge and marry these two things? My son having the experience and wanting to continue to be in agriculture, and I having a small 3-acre lot that needs to be developed into what's best described, I guess, as agritourism. And so the idea is, for lack of a better term, a petting farm, and an educational experience for people to come. When they come to Glacier National Park, they could stop and they can visit a farm that has small livestock. So not dangerous livestock, small livestock, not the big cows and horses that you see on some farms, but small things. So don't laugh, but a goat farm was the idea that we had. Now that has been expanded over time. And we now include mini Highland cows and alpacas and chickens and a couple of dogs as well. But the experience is that people will come and they will get to interact with the animals and pet them and get up close and learn a little bit about farm work and a little bit about animals and where their food comes from and enjoy the experience at the same time. December 2nd of 2023, we had a vacant piece of ground. As of this recording, 4 days ago, we had our opening day. Now, there was a total not quite 7 months between when we pounded the first post up in Montana and where we opened our doors for visitors. It was a lot of work. I am not going to take a ton of credit for it. I did the business side. My son was the brawn, if you will, and the brains as well. He has a lot of creative ideas that he put together, but 90% of that farm was built by his hands. Well, the tractor in his hands, right? But by him, he was living up there full time, still is. But he braved the 30 below zero weather to be out there working and building and growing and developing and living out of a trailer. And I mean, the whole sacrifice, build it, they will come story, right? On Saturday, we had our soft opening. It was a open house, and it was free to locals, right? The idea was let's get the word out and let's have local neighbors start to develop a good relationship with us, and hopefully spread the word, when their friends and family come to visit them in the Flathead Valley. I that morning when we opened up for the first time, I said, if we get 3 people coming to the farm today, I will be happy. Folks, we had over 500 people show up to our little 3-acre farm on Saturday. And we took tour after tour after tour of people through the farm, showing them what we had done, what we have, telling them about goats and mini Highland cows and chickens and dogs and livestock protection animals and alpacas and how things work on a farm. And it was a long day. I checked my app at the end of the day. I don't know how accurate these things are, but I had walked 7.5 miles in my boots that day. A lot of running around, a lot of teaching, a lot of interacting with neighbors and such. But it was a joy. It was an absolute joy to be involved in such a rewarding thing. We had multiple people say to us, this has been needed for so long. There's lots of farms here, but farmers are a little bit, and rightfully so, disease transfer, that kind of thing, are pretty selfish, self-interested. We'll use that word, about letting people on their farm. And we've wanted to bring our kids to a farm and show them, how it works. And this is just so needed. We heard that so often. This is just so needed. We're so glad it's here. And it was just to see people. I'll give you one experience before we go to the break, and then we'll come back and talk about appraisal for a little bit, because I think there's a lesson to be learned here. Okay. But I had one experience where I had a tour, and I was taking people around, and I came around the corner of one of the pens, and there was a boy. I would guess he was probably 3 years old, maybe 4. And he was crouched down, and he was giving some feed to our Angora goat, who is about, I don't know, 11 inches tall, just a little tiny thing, 2 months old, cute as a button, has little horns sticking up, and just so friendly. And the goat was eating out of his hand, and this little boy was just giggling with delight. And I kind of got a little emotional, honestly, when I saw that. And I'm so glad, by the way, my photographer took a picture of that and put it on our Instagram. If you follow us at Goats of Glacier, and you find the little boy with the red coat, the blonde haired. I saw myself in him. I was called towhead when I was a kid. I had absolutely not just blonde, but white hair when I was that age. And I saw myself in that kid, and I just had the greatest sense of accomplishment and joy, and thought to myself, this was all hard as hell and worth it. And it was just awesome. Folks, I want to pause and remind you of a couple of companies that sponsor here that make this podcast all worth it. OREP Insurance being one of them, folks. I have used other insurance companies out there, and they do not support their people like OREP. I'm telling you that, folks. I have dealt with other companies, and it's a little bit of a bureaucracy. And with OREP, it's not that way. They understand appraisers. They have been doing this for years, and they speak your language, and they have your back. They are on your side when something happens. Check them out by going to OREP. That's OREP.org. Again, OREP.org. Alamode is my software of choice. Why? Because it's so darn easy. My assistant uses it. I use it. We transfer files back and forth seamlessly. It is so easy to get things done when it comes to Alamode because they have the tools that are built in for appraisers to do the best that they can. It is the best software out there. Alamode.com, or you can call them, pick up the phone, have a conversation with them. 800 Alamode. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Had an awesome weekend as we opened up our farm in Montana. I will, of course, not be up there full time. I'll be, this will be a side project for me at this point. It's been kind of a full-time gig for me for the last couple of months as we've got things up and running. I can breathe a little bit. There's always something to do on a farm, but I don't feel the pressure that I had up until opening day. My son, this is his full-time thing. He is the farm manager. He will be up there all the time doing what it takes to run this farm, hiring and firing and taking tours, but mostly upkeep on the farm and making sure that everything is running properly, that we're being successful. But folks, this has been an eye-opening experience. So I turned 50 this year. I should also announce that I will also become a grandpa by the end of the year. This will be my first grandchild. Super excited about that. Lots of change in my life right now, folks. And I've been doing appraisal almost 30 years, since 1996. So about 28 years now, a little over 28 years now, I've been doing appraisal. And I love it. I do. I still enjoy it. I've got an appointment tomorrow morning to go out and see a home. And I've got a lot of help with it to find comps and make adjustments and that kind of thing. And I keep pinching myself every day because I get to enjoy what I do. But I'll tell you, watching that little boy on Saturday morning brought a whole new level of joy to work, if you will. Okay. There's a famous saying out there that if you find what you love and you make it your job, you'll never work another day in your life, right? Now, there's always some struggle and there's always some up and down. And this farm has been the hardest job venture I've ever been involved in, no doubt. Okay? Much more difficult to set up than an appraisal office. Okay. But the joy and the reward that has come as a consequence has been absolutely amazing and beautiful and wonderful. And I just cannot tell you how grateful I am for that experience. But it got me thinking, folks, about each of us and specifically where we are in our lives. Okay. I am not in any way saying that you should shut down your appraisal office and open up a farm. Okay. But what I am saying is if you are not happy in your current role, are there some major changes that you can make to make it wonderful again? I will tell you a brief experience that I had several years ago when I realized that I loved doing inspections much more than I loved choosing comps and making adjustments. And I, at that time, made a major switch in my business to where I would spend more time in the field and less time at the computer. And folks, it changed my attitude. I was getting burned out. And that little switch, or maybe it was a big switch, but it was a switch that allowed me to focus in on what I love to do. So maybe that's my encouragement today, is that you say to yourself, what part of the appraisal assembly line, what part of the process do you love? Can you spend more time doing that and less time doing the things that you don't love so much? That doesn't mean you spend all of your time there. That doesn't mean you can always get rid of all the things that you hate. But folks, it's the old 82% rule, right? If 82% of the time you're doing the things that you enjoy doing, right, you're probably in a pretty happy place. That means you've got 18% of the time that you can really hate what you do. And that's just life. That's just business. That's just the way things go. So my encouragement today, folks, is that you take stock, that next time you work on your business, not in your business, which I hope you're doing every week, that you sit back and you say to yourself, are there some changes that I need to make so that I can have more joy in my life? If I can help you to do that, folks, as a coach, I love doing that as well. One of the greatest joys of my life is to sit down one-on-one with you and to help you to get to where you are successful, to where you're making money, and to where you can make decisions that will allow you to have a better appraisal life. Please let me know if I can do that for you. Thank you for joining me, folks, and go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.